Welcome. Let me just tell you a little bit about the program and introduce you to the first reader. We want to thank the library for hosting this, and for a second year now, who said to come and read poems and play some music. So we want to thank them for their support. We want to thank the local cultural council for their support. As administered by the Mass Cultural Council, that means that the artists get paid, which is sometimes an all too infrequent occurrence. Next Tuesday, we will close the series with poets Eve Rivka and Paul Slozak. Paul Slozak is worth twice the price of admission. If you haven't heard him read, you'll leave laughing if you come to attend to this. Poetry can be funny too, even though Jack Gilbert doesn't think so. And there will be a trio of musicians who were here a couple of weeks ago. Jerry will be back playing bass. Rich Falco will be here playing guitar, and Rich Artisan will be here playing trombone. And they did quite a set a couple of weeks ago, so keep that in mind. Jeff Wilkinson is going to read first. He's going to read for about 30 minutes. We're not going to take a break, and then we're going to segue right into the music, and then after the music, Andre Juarez will read with some introduction in between. Their books, if you haven't seen them, they're out on the table in the lobby. If you'd like to purchase them, you can see the right people and make sure that you come away, probably signatures as well. Jeff Wilkinson is a professor of at Boston University School of Social Work, where he teaches community organizing and advocacy. A lifelong activist, he worked as a tenant organizer in Boston Public Housing, directed the Massachusetts Senior Action Council, the Massachusetts Public Health Association, and served as director of planning and policy for the Massachusetts Department of Public Health. He's a founding board member of the National Association of Community Health Workers and a co-founder of two social justice organizations where he lives in. He and Sally came a long way from Milton, Massachusetts. They have two sons, two grandchildren. He's the author of numerous articles in fields of health policy, public health. He also is a poet, which is why he's here tonight. His book Confluence is out there. I urge you, after hearing the poems and at the end of the evening, to meet Jeff personally if you haven't already, and to purchase a book and have him sign it. Please welcome Jeff Wilkinson.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for organizing this series, and thank you all for coming. Thank you for getting me into this, AJ. If AJ and I have been friends for over 20 years, and we've traded poetry for years, and he said, we really think you should write a book. And I thought he was kidding and not aspired to publish a book, but here I am. So thank you, and it's an honor to be able to read with you. I've organized my poems tonight with certain themes that I hope you will appreciate. I also want to thank Julie Marquette, who published the book, and in absentia. She's very special to a number of us here. And Sally, my wife, who's been an inspiration for a lot of these poems and helped with the choice of poems for the book. I'm going to read a combination of poems that are published in Confluence and poems that I've read since the book was published, including several that were inspired by a trip Sally and I took to Vietnam and Cambodia in the month of February, and some newly inspired poems by AJ. I'm going to close this set by singing Peace Guide Your Journey, which was published as a poem in the book, but I wrote it as a song. And I sang it for a friend who was dying of cancer about 40 years ago. And so I hope it speaks to folks. So let me start with a song published since the book was, written since the book was published. It's called Song for My Father. Call me Gumpa, centering the span of 5 generations. My son's grandfather is the son of my grandson's great-great-grandfather. My mother is the daughter of my granddaughter's great-great-grandmother. I sing the songs and share the foods of my father's fathers, my mother's mothers. I travel the winds of memory, explore a path I never began, strain to hear my ancestors' whispers, imagine the truths of progeny I shall not meet. Raised on the land of the Ojibwa, Odawa, and Potawatomi, I raised children on the land of the Wampanoag in Massachusetts. Visit grandchildren on the land of the Seneca and Monongahela. We are the sons and daughters of corn and cod, slaves and dreams, inheritors, bound to bequeath what we practice and glean. How to chop celery, tie hook to line, swallow indignity, carry the ball, the burden, the burning, budding, bestial beauty, the august, awful, awesome answer to haunting questions each generation discovers as new. Oh, if we only knew. Birthday. From salt and water we come. Primordial slime and blood offer testimony. We come from water and passion. We struggle forth to breathe of our own accord. We come from passion and hope, carried in our genes, gifts from our parents, from theirs and theirs and theirs before. We come from hope and starlight, shining through tears, through oceans, as the universe explodes. We come from starlight, from timeless love, to kick, to cry, to suck, to grip, even as this life we seek has its time. We come from love and courage, to seek our meaning, to know and make our time. The book is titled Confluence, and actually the first confluence is a metaphor for a lot, but the inspiration for the title came from the Confluence Overlook in Canyonlands National Park in Utah. And so this poem is called Confluence Overlook. I walk through a haunted valley of sentinel needles. Ancients surround me, their faces clear in glowing sandstone, profiles chiseled in burgundy shale, voices carrying over slick rock that never dies, just crumbles to give life to sage and juniper, indigo columbine, waving fields of grass. Beyond this precipice, where the trail ends, where a dream beckons, a staring lizard knows heaven's conceit. Life is shared in time where the rivers meet. And from that same trip, this is a favorite poem of my mother's, who is living but with dementia. Impressions. Here are lizard tracks and desert rat, boot prints of hikers, tiny impressions and large, catching first light, creating shadows of visibility in smooth sand. We make our ways together up and down the hill, among snakeweed and yucca, foraging one and all. Some seek food, some the nourishment of stillness in the swallow's call, the fresh morning breeze, the haunting beauty of landscape shaped by water, wind, and uncountable dawns. So we're moving now from the southwest to coastal Maine. Blueberry pickers. Black bodies stoop in green fields under yellow sun, where gulls soar and tides run. Black hands fly, picking sweet berries for white tables, with tennis courts and shingled gables. Black songs echo where green crabs crawl in gray mud, and wine flows like precious blood. As you heard from Jonathan's introduction, I've been a social justice activist all my life. And this poem is taken from some relief work I joined some years ago after one of the horrendous earthquakes in Haiti. The title, Hibernian Hall, is a building in Roxbury where we were all gathered, putting together relief supplies. Hibernian Hall. Babies lying dead in the street, she said, like fish washed up on shore. The wounded waiting without strength to cry, hundreds by the thousands. So we put our backs into it as one, sorting all this clothing, imagining who used to wear this skirt, this shirt, this pair of pants, imagining who will open this box, passed down a human chain to waiting truck, then boat or plane. Our hearts full of the prayerful songs they're singing, even in the face of death, even as the shouting stops from underneath the rubble again. Music coursing through our grunts and laughs, the fierce pace of our labor, done because we want to, knowing that community is power, desperate to help somehow. As I mentioned, we've just come back from Vietnam. I actually wrote this poem last May after a mass shooting in Texas, of course known as the Lone Star State. And it begins with a reference to Thich Quang Duc, who was a Buddhist monk who famously immolated himself in 1963 in Saigon and really woke up the world to oppression Buddhists were experiencing and what the Americans were already doing in Vietnam at the time. Another mass shooting in Texas. When Thich Quang Duc settled into the lotus position and set himself ablaze on that busy Saigon street, he set the world on fire. We are still burning. Breathing in news of copycat carnage like ubiquitous dust sparkling in sunlight, listening for birdsong beneath thundering jets, the world barely turning. As if there was such a thing as a lone star, or safe haven from tortured, barking souls on a spinning globe of arsenals, awash in dreams and schemes, all of us yearning. We were blessed to have a neighbor, Don Meach, who was a Vietnam veteran who was exposed to Agent Orange, which finally ravaged him with numerous cancers about a decade ago. And this is for Don, who used to come over to our house when our oldest son, whose birthday is in July, we always had a birthday party in the backyard. Don and I would fill up a wheelbarrow full of water balloons and hide them in Don's garage, and then he would come over with the wheelbarrow at the right time in the party, and the kids would all pelt each other. It didn't matter how many dozens of water balloons we made, they were all gone in 2 minutes. Agent Orange. In vivid dreams, he returns from the dead, fortifying parties with his infectious smile, filling water balloons for laughing children. He drives jeeps for the general command, filling water balloons for laughing children, loads barrels of defoliant onto waiting planes. He casts perfectly above the rushing river, loads barrels of defoliant onto waiting planes, thrills to the tug of life captured on his line. He admires her entering his room, thrills to the tug of life captured on his line, makes her smile despite the blood count. He wires buildings for machines he doesn't use, makes her smile despite the blood count, hoists a purring cat upon his shoulder. He complains about veggies and bitter herbal tea, hoists a purring cat to his shoulder, makes it to the waiting car, leaning on a friend. He wastes away as the war finally takes him, makes it to the waiting car, leaning on a friend, finally gets a boat of his own. He confounds time with her ferocious love, finally gets a boat of his own, slipping away on the early tide. He grins, suspended in the photo frame, slipping away on the early tide, fortifying parties with his infectious smile. Here's another one from our recent trip to Vietnam. Close encounters. A nightlight's shine on the floor of our hotel bathroom reminds me of the full moon reflected in water and transports me north into terraced highlands. I remember water buffalo in rice fields, women hoeing mud under conical hats, the sun sending long shadows on its journey into the western hills, with ducks quacking to be fed. I remember a bomb crater pond, egrets feasting on snails, dragonflies suddenly filling the air, the toothless grin of a farmer whose chickens live among the stilts, supporting the house he shares with his brother-in-law, both of them combat veterans of the American and Cambodian wars. My peers. Well into a bottle of rice wine they share with us, poured into glasses they remove from a shelf reserved for special guests, spitting and polishing them with rough fingers to toast us in friendship. Glad to learn we protested the war that ravaged their fields and families. Nodding sagely of the story of our friend, killed finally by Agent Orange, no stranger to their land. And also from this recent trip, showering in Vietnam. And I should say Nha Trang is the name of a city. Saw a lot of U.S. Military action. We have been lovers almost half a century. And it's the first time I remember her ever wanting to photograph me naked. I was toweling off with Nha Trang, framed in a little window cut through gray marble tiles of our hotel shower, with buildings layered against jungle mountains painted on the sky. A giant white Buddha shimmering in the distance, the ravages of war visible only to the mind's eye. She went for her camera, sounds of the city floating in, horns, hammering, barking, shouts. The chanting from a nearby temple sounded strangely like the song, "We Are the World." This poem is called "Water is Body," and it is inspired by Natalie Diaz, whose collection post-colonial love stories is a fabulous, fabulous book. Water is body. You say we carry the river, its body of water in our body. Body and water are the same. Water is body, energy, medicine, prayer. I am the water flowing in the river, yes, and the ocean and the stream. The nectar on the hummingbird's tongue, the breaking water of birth. Tears flowing down my lover's cheeks as she grieves all the deaths that have crashed upon her shore. I am the gurgling forest brook, ageless reminder that time is not real. Death is for the living, the falling, parted, open, endless water. I am urine flowing unbidden into mother's chair cushion as she remembers about wading in the creeks of her childhood, where woodland fairies said she would be safe. I am the water missing from barren farmland, the cleansing rain and flooding torrent, the sacred water of new life and impending passage. I am the water leaking through a rented roof, corroding walls where cabinets sag and roaches nest. I am spittle in the tyrant's fulmination, poison flowing in grade school fountains, water rising as mist from a still dawn pond, reflecting sentinel pines, inviting the naked to enter. I fill thirsty dancers and rip babies from loving arms, carrying us downstream into the mysteries of stardust and souls, where we are all the water, all sisters and brothers, all one body, all one. And this for Sally, anniversary. When fire has claimed the land, all that it can, when dams are belatedly destroyed, rivers drained and fish depleted, even then, at dawn, Earth's orchestra will stir. Music will rise as the shameless eastern sky parades its glory. Wind will rustle leaves, newborn babes will cry for the departed. The cardinal will call, the morning dove will answer. After the final breath is taken, whale song, mystery, life dancing in memory's arms, love unbound from time. You connect us all like aspen roots on a golden hillside, each rippling fin and rustling feather. You, the glow of a conch shell illuminated by morning sun, the space between the letters of all the words in every book imagined. You, a chord sounding after the bell is still, who claims the broken spirit and nourishes you with laughing eyes and tingling tongue, who goes about the business of caring without care or calculation, like the sun and the tides, a monarch wing unfolding, a river of raindrops mixed with tears, the heart of the holy living in and through you, holding me. Waking alone. When the cat crawled out and left me alone in bed, I imagine again the forever absence of your warmth, thinking of your oft-repeated vow to go before me. Echoing down the tender canyon of our devotion, light as mist covering the muck and furrows of a delta field. Your easy laughter glowing like morning sun behind a foggy shroud, reaching into forever. I woke delivering a speech in a foreign tongue. I woke unable to revive a dying baby. I woke to children wanting pancakes shaped like crabs and mermaids, bows and arrows, their nascent pains fertile as nettles under irradiated winds. I woke with the weight of generations pressing me hard into bed springs. I woke saying, so far, so good, knowing what the day would bring, wondering what the future will hold. This one is called The Glorious Tangle. Before sunrise, dawn seeps, interrupting night's solidity, as a wave rising on the power of its own depletion lifts a mirror to all creation. I remember when our sons, still suckling, broke their mother's gaze to notice the wider world, beginning to leave us almost before they arrived. Fragile shoots lifting through encrusted soil toward the bounty of harvest, of autumn husks and seeds released for burial and regeneration. Our journeys wind into and through the glorious tangle of days and depths and weeds, each step a precipice, each possibility a portal. Into this moment, the summation of exploration and creation, yearning and learning, trouble and transformation, commitment in labor and love. Some ask, what now? As if one could read the ending before writing the story. Hold the fruit before watering the vine. What now? The bane of adolescence, the refrain of broken love. What now? The question not of how the story ends, but what the ending begins. We ride together briefly, our stories linked forever, in this precious, transient moment as we spin around the sun. Each story like a canvas, pain and pleasure on the palette, different hands upon the brushes, ere each final portrait is done. I wish for each and all of us, and for our children's children, the world we dream and work for and still have yet to know. The beauty of the sunshine, sunrise, the luminescent wave, the sparkle in a baby's eye, the chance to live and grow. October lilac. This one's for AJ. True story. A lilac cluster blooms incongruous against slate October sky. Perched, an exotic bird atop branches I meant to prune. I marvel as you describe tubes and tests, the ordeal of walking from parking lot to lab, the frank conversation with a researcher enthralled by your novel case. I want you ever wrapped in emerald, lavender crown ablaze, as if winter was a fig Newton of our imagination, as if golden deserters were not fluttering to the ground, where squirrels go about their blessed business, digging furiously, little shoulders fluid as boxers, burying nuts they'll never find. Yes, I want you committed to battle, curiosity insatiable, an autumn blossom, a merry acorn sending down roots for 1,000 fragrant springs to come. Question for the questioner. In the dentist chair, when I find myself clenching, I remind myself to breathe, to practice what I know. There's a moment of relief, but soon I'm clenching again, needing again to breathe. I remember this as I listen to you, tears on your dying face, reading your ode to your mother, your ode to questions, to thinkers, to those who have taken time to figure out how this universe works. You are a poem. You speak in poetry. You always leave me enriched, inspired, challenged. We ask life's big questions together. We've found some answers along the way. We question still. You face death asking why you didn't do more, wondering what would have happened if you'd achieved what would only have been possible by living in ways you chose wisely not to live. I asked if you achieved your mother's hopes for you, which you claim as your highest aspiration. All but one, you say. She wanted me to be spiritual. Ah, my brother, spirituality is not about deities. I believe she would be proud to the marrow of what you carry toward death's portal. For what better way to live spiritually than to act knowing your choices matter? Devoting yourself to kindness, creativity, justice, and love. Who knows the frequencies to which the universe tunes? Who knows how relationships and deeds reverberate? Who knows how far the ripples of one's life will spread? I haven't been playing this for a long time, but I decided to do this as a song since it was written as a song. So forgive me my poor history. Peace guide your journey, light lead the way. I would have kept you another day, but I could hold you in my arms. Peace guide your journey, keep you from harm, through tears of love. I bid you live and profit by the strength you give. Let prayers go forth upon this soul, banish the pain you've fought so long. From the full moon, light is waning, and from your body, life has drained. I love you only as you are. The darker night reveals new stars. Peace guide your journey, light lead the way. I would have kept you another day, but I could hold you in my arms. Peace guide your journey, keep you from harm.
If you're unfamiliar with Jerry Wilfong,
I know.
pardon me?
I know.
You should check out jazzfong.com. I'll just leave it at that, all right? Jazzfong, one word, .com. You see. Jim Capone has enjoyed music and dreamed of making it over time. He's continued to play clarinet in solos and duos with a variety of musicians and poets, and oftentimes blesses us with the sound of the Chinese flute. Jerry Wilfong and Jim Capone.
Thanks, Jonathan, once again for putting all these together.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 weeks ago, I showed up with Rich Artisan and Rich Falco, and due to a fatal misunderstanding of basic math, we showed up as a trio to a solo duet series. Tonight, we'll do some solos and duos. Yep. are some alternate titles. There's the creator has a MasterCard, and there's the creator has a plaster man, but none of those are. So I guess I'll drop into a solo.
Yeah.
Okay. This is Old Folks, which it was written in 1938, I think, and covered by Bing Crosby and people like that. And then later, it became a jazz standard. Miles Davis did it, Pat Metheny did it, and there's a really nice version with Carmen McRae. And it also suffers from a basic math problem in the sense that old folks is plural, but it's about, the song is about one guy. It's a singular person, an old timer, Civil War vet who told tall tales and smoked a corncob pipe, and they called him Old Folks. That was his nickname. So much for math.
Chinese flute called the shao, which is different from the end blown as opposed to the ones that are played transverse, which are called a dizi. And common to all of them, they're made out of bamboo. So, which unfortunately has one thing, is affected by the weather and can very easily crack. So this is a side story. I was going to play this one over here tonight, but as you can see all the Scotch tape all around it everywhere. And the blue tape too, it started cracking some time ago, but then the other night when we were together, we were just standing there and just talking, and suddenly it went like that. Just like crack, and split all the way down one thing. So I quickly put tape over it, but it's just not playing right now. So I switched to this another version that I have, which is a little bit different. That one's a little lower of a tone, but it sounds a little bit better. This one's a little brighter and higher. But anyway, I'm going to play a traditional tune. I probably won't really look at it, but just so I get the name. It's Bie Yi Nan, Bie Yi Nan, Chinese, old Chinese tune. And my wife tells me it's difficult to translate it, but it's about longing and waiting for someone and that kind of thing. Hopefully I can play it right. And, see. Is this right?
So we were going to do Naima on the other flute, but this flute is missing a hole. And there's a critical note.
Right.
So can I sneak in another solo?
Sure.
There's some chance to. I was going to do a little bit of Mingus, because I know Andre likes Mingus. I guess we got one more at this time. Come someday, do come. Can blow out for a little fun at first, right?
as he is known, is of the First Nations of Zuni and Yaqui, poet, artist, writer, musician, for those of you who don't know, founding member of No Place Artist Cooperative, former lead singer of the Ghost Shadows.
Yeah.
And a flutist as well. I was thinking that as Jim was playing. I said, my God, so many years. And a poet who has a new book called A Year of Questions, as Jeff pointed out, the man who questions. Welcome, Andre Laura.
Well, this is a strange gathering for me because on the one hand, it's probably my last public gathering as I am dying of cancer. On the other hand, it's my first book of poetry. And I'd like to thank Julie Marquette for making this book happen. We were working on a book called A Selected Works of A.J. Juarez, and she said, send me all the source material. So I sent her the source material, and she said, no, we gotta stop this, we gotta do a year of questions, because that book stands on its own, and it speaks to much of who you are. And I said, well, that's strange, because in the year of question, I set up in my feeble mind, I've always been overambitious, so I figured that I wanted to strip down poetry to its essence. Because I found myself writing this poem about Miles Davis and Charlie Parker, about, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
About how it would have been heavenly to be there and fly on the wall when they first met, when they first played something for each other. It would have been like a heavenly moment. So I set up and I wrote pages and pages and pages and pages. And then it dawned on me that it was so bullshit. It was all a fig Newton of my imagination, as I like to say. And I wouldn't know that, but there was still a heavenly moment there. And so that was the genesis of trying to strip down poetry to its essence. And in the meantime, I found out that my mother was dying of congestive heart failure. She had a few months to live. So I packed all my stuff in Worcester and headed to Arizona. And lo and behold, there we were. But I kept that in the back of my mind. And at the same time, I started corresponding with the woman who would become my wife, Donna Louise. And so it dawned on me that I had a lot of questions ahead. Do I pursue this romance? What do I do with my mother? What about poetry? What about jazz? And that's how I organized the book, to a series of questions, or segments of questions. And I decided to start by the essential. What did it mean to go back to the desert? And so this is the first poem. Oh, in a book I dedicate to Julie and to my clan brother Carlos Aceves, who has seen me through everything since childhood, since we first wiped our own noses back when we were 4 or 5, if not younger. And we've been with each other throughout our lives. And so I dedicate it to him. First poem, Marking the Return. Marking the return with words that camouflage how it feels to be hugged by your niece, or to kiss your mother on the forehead, knowing soon she will die. Marking the return to the desert and the song I carry in me because of my nativity. Again we gather mesquite for the fire. Again we sweat and sing to our ancestors. Again we're again, we ask our old ones and for their strength, and we worship the spirit of all our relationships. Again, we are not alone. Again. That's that. And then I started to think about what was the essence of my life, and here's what I wrote. Buddha baby. Buddha baby, do you know why I like you? Do you know I trust your knowledge of overindulgences? Ain't it great to have a fat, imperfect deity? Buddha baby. New man. Back in the day, there was a lot of argument about how to account for each other. You know, the coming of coding, etc., was very much part of our world. So I wrote, new math. What is 64 divided by 0.900 times the speed of a broken heart? If 6 of these and 6 of those equal each other, can we again adjust 10 of them and 8 of those to again reach equilibrium? If the total charge of the universe is 0, what in creation's name is our obsession with being number 1? And so I kept along the journey of trying to synthesize things to make them as simple as possible. And this is a poem I call Truly Vulgar. What can be more unkind? What can be truly vulgar than being unkind? That's the hope. Why not ask questions for Leonard Peltier? Are those voices we are hearing Manic Casal screaming for us to save the ocean? The cry I bring back from the mountain, can it be recycled? Why not ask questions? They are not about fear. And then we moved into January, February, March. So we're chronological. Luau. My sister's small dog wags its tail as he sees me approach. I have eaten dogs like him under the blue Hawaiian night. Under the blue Hawaiian night, the taste of meat delicious in the luau. Syracuse, California. The line, like a Kachina's cry, comes from a poem by Carlos Aceves called Kachina's Cry. And it reads, Syracuse, California. When I said on those rocks, up there on those mountains, looking down over the pines, all that I wanted was forgotten. Sun shining, wind blowing, horizon magic, like a Kachina's cry. Tomasito's poems, who's coming to visit me tomorrow, so we could pass on some ceremonial works from our familial life. And I wrote this poem when he was a little boy. He could, I don't know, he must have been 5 or 6. Tomasito's poem. Knotted shoelace, child crying. My teeth and fingers help stop the tears. Black shoelace untangled and retied. And now he's in his 30s. Heavenly moment. What did Miles play for Bird when they first met? Heavenly moment. Wood for Jean. By nature, she would undress slowly with grace and sensuality. Watching her brush her hair, watching her brush her hair, then her teeth, observing how she washed her face and applied moisturizer. I came to understand the importance of routines. Kisses, new paths, led me not towards home, but towards the good earth. Poem for Jonathan. In a bar, a TV blares out a talk show. We watched and didn't use our tongues. Nostalgia for when, over a few beers, we would talk, even to strangers. April, hold on. Put this one in here. 90 cents. 90 cents. 90-cent burgers at a fast food joint. Caviar to a man with his last $2 in his pocket. I-17. Free was traffic. Car speeds by. Bang! You're dead. Who taught us how to be so angry? This is short but serious poems. Opening poetry reading at Willow House, Phoenix, Arizona. Care for your love, as in, when you left me, my mind shattered and my world, oh love, a rose I could not have. I question your eye as in you. Believe you masturbate with words. Get off. Come because you think you have bathed in meaning and sensuality. And want to be understood, want to be embraced. I say go home, go read Neruda, go read Gwen Brooks. That's the poem. Music lives. Brian strung out like a fine-tuned string, playing drums. The sticks switch on his being. Music lives. This is for our friend Ranjan Jurinji. My hands don't work so well, so Public Library in Phoenix. Looking out the window, a man in a blue shirt sees a sculpture stone that resembles something curious. Behind a tree, a woman sleeps. On the first floor of the library, a huge bookshelf still stands bearing 3 big signs, sternly confessing content. L fiction, N fiction R, filed by author. Behind the bookshelf, a table, a chair. At noon, those of us who have no shelter have found our niche. A man snores as a drunken woman meets a friend. Time of day given to others. Time of day given to others. Oh Lord, my eyes are failing. I need somebody else to read it, I can't read it. Johnny.
This,
Yes,
from the beginning.
sure.
Looking out the window, a man in a blue shirt sees a cubist stone sculpture behind a tree. A woman sleeps on the first floor of the library. A huge bookshelf stands bearing 3 signs, sternly confessing content. L, fiction. M, N, fiction. R, filed by author. Behind the bookshelf is a chair. By noon, those of us without shelter have found our niche. A man snores as a drunken woman meets a friend. The time of day is given to others as the sun hotly bounces off the melting asphalt on McDowell Avenue.
Thank you. Who's next?
I don't know where you're going.
Who is it?
This one? On a Phoenix, Arizona street, a young, bald, white man walks toward my van. He screams at a shadow I can't see. "Look, you bastard! How could you reveal his investment on the prior terrain that he has known? This is his capital." Closing his eyes, he speaks softly with himself. I awkwardly try to ignore him as I take pictures of a Mexican bird of fire, bush flowering on the lawn of a blue boarded up house. Tire marks on wet soil left zigzag patterns. Left, I went right at the next corner. A van turns a corner. A traffic light turns green. A bald white man screams again.
Sorry, folks.
You might not feel after channel 12.
Oh, yeah. He might not feel. That poem is for a friend, Chris Gilbert, who was having a kidney transplant.
He might not feel. So he might not feel like talking. He snores with a copy of Isaac Bashevis Singer's Friend of Kafka lying on his chest. The radio plays a piece that sounds like a selection from Miles Davis's sketch of Spain. The hospital smells claim the moment. I watch him stretch as he sleeps, and I hope that if he wakes up, he will welcome words. I was told his chance for recovery is 50-50. I wonder if this will be our last conversation. He sleeps soundly while the IV solution slowly enters his arm. I count the drops of fluid leaving the IV bag. Outside a 6'4" window, the gray sky is about to cry. That's monuments.
Or I got like,
My greatest honor.
Monuments is the one I want to read.
You gonna read it? You
No,
want me to-
read Monuments, and then I'm going to read the last two. Is there what?
Monuments. The legacy you lived breathes and pulsates. 13 children, 43 grandchildren, 8 great-grandchildren, and countless others who've been touched by your strength, your peaceful spirit. To call you a matriarch would be irrelevant. If you were a mountain or a spawning fish, if you were a flower or a cloud, you would still humble us with your lifetime. Mother, when you told me death did not frighten you because you had never been afraid to live, you gave me the gift of understanding, making our goodbyes, farewells, and our last moments together monuments to you. And the last two?
And that's all, I'll read the
Oh,
last.
all right, I'm just going to find it for you. So, ode to those who question, and then if.
Yes. Alright.
You got it?
Yeah, this is an emotional poem for me, so forgive me if I don't. Ode to those who question. Let me go to in front of me. Ode to those who question. For my mother who taught me to question, and for Stephen Hawking, whose book, A Brief History of Time, reminded me of questioning. Part 1. The sky is clear and the moon is crescent. A hot summer wind blows. I've come to sit alone and to clear my mind of thoughts which spin and weave and shuffle and stray and say nothing. I think of the millions of stars out there in the known universe. My mind is fragmented and fills itself with thoughts of the Mayan astronomers and of the interstellar voyages of the Zapotec. Thoughts of Newton's discovery of the spectrum of light, the spectrum of light of color in those upspace, close to upspace. That we find in a prism. Well, there's an error here. Holy cow, Julie didn't catch an error.
Nor did you.
Did I?
Should have had me take a look at it. I've been copy editing most of his stuff in the last little while.
Okay, so it should read, my mind is fragmented and fills itself with the thoughts of Mayan astronomers and the interstellar voyages of the Zapotec. Thoughts of Newton's discovery of the spectrum of light found in a prism. Of Hubble's notion of the expanding universe. Of Einstein, that scientists give to humanity. My thoughts boil and steam, clatter and squeak, and until the image of Professor Hawking appears. Professor Hawking, sitting in his wheelchair, deformed, pained, struggling with speech, exploring, searching, living his life, writing his brief history of time. His life full of meaning and significance, celebrating, questioning, becoming part of the continuum covering this globe we call Earth, kin to the Chinese in their knowledge of rocketry and those Arabics whose powerful numerals we count. Hawking, contributing, challenging, powerful. The clear sky leads me to the sky. The clear sky leads me towards the desert horizon I have often called home. I walk towards the horizon and say, my mother is dead. She taught me to question. I say to the stars as I tip an imaginary hat to those who have asked, how does it work, this universe of ours? Part 2. The clear windy sky, the windy night humbles me. I, a grieving man, in awe with creation, I raise my hand to the cosmos and cry. That was a hard part to read. And then I closed the reading with a poem that at the time I wrote it, I had no clue how long it would last or what it would mean. But I had a job offer in Prague, painting with this friend of mine, Raul Rosas, was a very well-known muralist. He paints big murals. And he had hired me to go paint his skies because he was sick of painting skies. And he said, I love your skies, man. Why don't you come and paint skies for me? You think it's a long gig, it'd be at least a year. So why don't you come? And I said, well, I got one pit stop. I want to go see about this woman. I'm interested. And if she wins out, you're out of it, Jack. I'm staying in Worcester. Here's a poem. If, for my beloved wife and companion of DL, if somehow I could paint your laughter, I would use yellows and pinks and illustrate your thundering belly. Lavender and orange with a bit of white for the pure joy seated in your womb. Your laughter will pass through bright desert yellows sprinkled with a bit of black and turquoise until all the way through your throat to burst through vocal cords of pastel rainbows and a tingling sensation that will stay in a passion red mouth long after the echoes of your song have died. Then your eyes will shine with clear kindness. I would have read better more if I could.